Named anchors are a facility built into HTML which enable you to name specific parts of a page. Once you've created these names, you can then link back to them just as you can to any other URL. One of the classic uses of named anchors is FAQs, frequently asked questions. And this is what we'll use in this example. Here you can see we have a series of questions, and then further down the page we have the answer to each question, followed by a link back to the top of the page. When working with named anchors, it's useful to make sure that Dreamweaver's Visual Aids facility is activated, and that's View Visual Aids, and just make sure that Hide All is not switched on. If I choose Hide All, you'll see that all the various bounding boxes disappear, and when I choose View Visual Aids, Hide All again, back they come. The reason for this is that Dreamweaver uses a yellow symbol to represent your named anchor. And this is quite a useful way of making sure that everything's working, and it can also be used to create a link to a named anchor. Working with named anchors is a two-step procedure. Firstly, you create your names. Secondly, you create links to those names. To create a name, position your cursor. So in this case, I'm positioning the cursor in front of the answer to the first question. Next, choose Insert, Named Anchor, and enter a short name. So here I'll enter Q1, and then you can see Dreamweaver inserts a yellow marker to indicate the named anchor. Let's do that for the other questions. Insert Named Anchor Q2, insert Named Anchor Q3. Now we can create links to those named anchors. There are basically three ways of creating the link. So let's open the Properties panel. Obviously, you highlight the text that you want to convert into a link. The first method is to click in the link box and type the link yourself. To indicate that this is a link to a named anchor, type a hash symbol followed by the name of the anchor, so hash Q1 for example, and then press enter. The second method is point to file. Again, we highlight the link text, scroll down so that we can see the yellow symbol that represents the named anchor. And then using Dreamweaver's excellent point to file facility, which is just next to the link box, we simply drag and drop onto that visual representation of the named anchor. That picks up the name, and precedes it with the hash for us. If you're doing this on a busy page, the third method is perhaps the best of all. You highlight your text and choose Insert, Hyperlink. Next to the link box is a drop-down menu, and Dreamweaver automatically picks up all the named anchors on the page, and you simply choose the appropriate one. In order to create a back to the top link, you follow the same procedure. You may hear people say that you don't actually need to create a named anchor for back to top because the browser will automatically recognize the top without your having to create a top. Let's put that to the test. So if we go into the link box and type hash top, If we test in Internet Explorer, you'll see that our back to top link works fine. However, if we test in Firefox, you'll see that our back to top link does nothing. So to ensure compatibility with all browsers, it's important that you create a named anchor. It doesn't have to be called top, but there has to be something at the top of the page that you can link back to. On the page being used in this example, it isn't possible for us to put a named anchor right at the top of the page. And that's because this page is based on a Dreamweaver template. Templates is an excellent Dreamweaver feature which enables you to maintain consistency throughout your whole site. But it does mean that if you want to access the whole page, you can only do so from the template and not from the pages based on the template. So in order to create a named anchor at the top of the page, we need to open the template on which the page is based. In the top right of the page, you'll see it's based on a template called wide template. And if we look in the templates folder, here it is, widetemplate.dwt. We can now open this and put our named anchor right at the start of the page. A simple way to move the cursor to the very start of the page is to use the tag selector at the bottom of the page. Clicking on the body tag means that you select the whole page, everything on the page. If you then simply press the left arrow on your keyboard, your cursor is now positioned at the very start of the page. So we can now use Insert, Named Anchor, and let's simply type top. If we now save that change, because this is a template, Dreamweaver says, do you want to update files based on this template? And we say yes we do, by clicking on the Update button. Once it's finished, we can close the Update Pages window. Let's also close the template. And we can now link back to the top. So the first one's already done. The only difference, of course, is that #top already exists. So on the second one, we can simply say Insert Hyperlink. And when we look on our drop-down menu, you'll see that top has been added to the list. And of course what we'll do from here is simply to copy the entire link and paste it as many times as we need on the page. Let's now test this in Firefox. We'll click on question 3 and back to top.